As a teacher, your retirement benefits can be very overwhelming and it can be hard to navigate exactly what you're looking at and how it all works. The best option is simply just to gather information and familiarize yourself with all the benefits that you have available to you. Here's the top 3 benefits you're going to want to know. So first things is everybody that works Washington State on a contracted capacity has a retirement benefit through the system, and this is often expressed in form of a pension, and you're going to find yourself either on Plan 2 or on Plan 3. So people on Plan 2, you know if you're on Plan 2 if you look at your pay stub and you see the acronym TRS2 or PERS2, that's Teacher Retirement System and Public Employee Retirement System. You might also see SERS, which is the School Employees Retirement System. The good news is all those systems work the same. So as long as you see that number 2 or 3 at the end of it, that's how you know which plan you're going to be on. Now, as far as how does Plan 2 work? Plan 2 is pretty straightforward. You get 2% for every year you work in Washington State, and they're going to base that total percentage off of your top 5 consecutive years of service. So if I'm a teacher on Plan 2 and I work for 30 years, I'll take 30 times 2, which would be 60 or 60% in this case, and I would get 60% of whatever my top 5-year salary is, or the average of those. So at the end of my career, if I'm making, let's say, $100,000, and that's my average my top 5 years, I'd get 60% of $100,000 or $60,000 per year, which is about $5,000 per month. And that is a guaranteed benefit that you're going to get every single month in retirement for as long as you live. If you have a spouse that you want to pass that benefit on to, you can take a slight reduction in that benefit so they can continue to get it on after you pass away. Now, if you find yourself on Plan 3, Plan 3 is actually a hybrid plan. So you have part of the pension like you did on Plan 2, but you have your own savings component to it as well. So as far as the pension goes, instead of getting 2%, you're only going to get 1% for every single year. So in that same scenario, a teacher with 30 years that averages $100,000, you'd have 30 years of service in, or 30%, you'd get 30% of the $100,000, you got $30,000 per year, or $2,500 per month. So it's half of the guaranteed income that Plan 2 offers. Now, you actually contribute into this plan yourself, and all of your contributions goes into what's known as your defined contribution plan. So your money goes in there every single month on a pre-tax basis and grows over time. And then in retirement, you have access to that money to spend how you see fit. Now, when you have money going to Plan 3, you have to choose your contribution amount within 90 days of being enrolled. Otherwise, it gets locked up, and you can only change it if you change employers. So if you sign up for Plan 3 and didn't select anything, you get defaulted into the minimum 5% contribution amount, and you can never change that unless you change employer. So if I move from Seattle School District to Bellevue, that would constitute as an employer change, and then I can increase that Plan 3 contribution at that time. Within Plan 3, there's only a handful of investment options available to you. You do have the ability to go in there and select what options you want at any given time. So a lot of people find themselves on the WSIB TAP fund. If you were employed before 2013, people employed after 2013 typically find themselves defaulted into a target date fund. Regardless of which one you're on, you can always make the change. Keep in mind that if you're trying to move from WSIB TAP fund to self-directed, where you can kind of choose your own investment options, it does take up to 60 days to make that change. It's a very slow process. Now, knowing all of those rules and how the benefit formulas works is a key part of how you can use that knowledge to your benefit. So the percentage is kind of set in stone. That doesn't change at all. But we have some control over how long we choose to work and how much we make. Everyone that works for the school system, have salary schedules in place. So you have an idea of what you're going to make this year and next year. But if you wanted to increase that pay amount, you can also take on extra work. So things like summer school, coaching, getting your national awards, anything and everything that you can get an extra income stream from will count and increase your top 5 years, which then will carry over and pay you a higher pension amount in the future. So if you have just 5 years left of working and you took on some extra work and say you earn an extra $5,000 for those 5 years, you then would have increased your average salary from $100,000 to $105,000. So then $105,000 is what they're going to use in your benefit calculation. So going back to the first example, the teacher with 30 years on Plan 2 would get 60% of $105,000 instead of just $100,000. So in that case, you'd essentially earn an extra $3,000 per year. Now, it may not seem like a whole lot up front, but remember that $3,000 per year is also going to get custom adjustments added onto it. And you break $3,000 over the year, it's about $250 a month. So not exactly chump change. You can definitely get to go out a few times out to dinner. You could, save it up and take a trip to Disneyland. There's a lot you can do just because you sacrifice for those 5 years and put in that extra work to increase that pension payout. Now, the second benefit you guys really need to understand is your retirement savings options. So you guys are defaulted into whatever pension plan that you're on, and there's not much changes you can do around that. Now, everybody, regardless of what pension plan you're on, has the ability to save more into your employer-sponsored accounts. You guys currently have the option to save into a deferred compensation plan, also known as a DCP, or you can save into a private account known as a 403B. That's just the tax code they're in. They work pretty much the same way. For the most part, you just open an account with either one of those, and yes, you can have both if you want to. Money goes in on a pre-tax or on a Roth basis. So you're basically deciding, hey, do I want to put money in pre-tax and lower my income now, knowing that I have to pay taxes on that plus interest in the future? Or on a Roth basis, which means, hey, I'm going to pay taxes on money now, but any money that grows is going to be mine tax-free. That's the choice you have in either one of those. For the most part, deferred compensation plans in many districts is only offered through the state and many other different employers. Occasionally, you're going to find private 457 plans, which is just the tax code for deferred compensation, also available. So if you wanted to use a private deferred comp, you certainly can, but just know that the deferred compensation plan Washington State offers is available universally. Now, as far as the similarities between both of these plans, they both have the same type of tax benefits. So if I put in pre-tax or Roth, they both work the same. Contribution limits are also going to be the same. Currently $30,500 for those over age 50. Now remember, I said you can do both, and those limits are separately. So if you had the means to do so, you could put in $30,000 into a 403B and $30,000 into a deferred comp for a total of $60,000. There's really no shortage of options of where you can save as a state employee, especially if you're a teacher. Now, both of those plans also have no income limitations to them. So it doesn't matter if you make $50,000 a year or $500,000 a year, you can put money into those plans. Now, as far as some of the key differences between them, the main difference is just going to be the fee structure and accessibility. So all accounts have fees, including the state's DCP account. The deferred compensation plans also likes to boast that they have low fees and they're cheaper than 403Bs. And generally that statement is true. But if you know what you're doing, you can actually get yourself a 403B plan with more investment options at a lower cost than what deferred compensation is able to offer you. So as far as which one is better, which is a question we get all the time, it really comes down to what you're after. If you're someone that's just looking to get a savings account or a retirement savings account set up quickly, and you want to be able to access that money a little bit quicker, and you don't care if the investments are the same as you currently have in Plan 3, the deferred comp is not a bad way to go. Now, if you're already someone in Plan 3 and you wanted to diversify your investments, because remember that the investments in deferred comp is the same as in Plan 3, so if you have Plan 3 and deferred comp, you're just putting more money in the same thing. So in that case, you could open up a 403B with a different provider, and then you could at least have money going to other investments and diversify your retirement savings. Keep in mind that 403Bs are a little bit tricky to get money out of, and that's just because they're held through a private employer. You have to have your employer sign off on the account, and then they have to sign off before the money is either transferred or withdrawn from. So it takes a little bit longer of a process to get money out of those down the road. The 403Bs also offer a little bit more accessibility during retirement. So deferred compensation plans are hands-off while you're employed, whereas 403Bs do have loan provisions, harsher withdrawal provisions, and if you're retired, you can access all the money. And if you're over the age of 55 and separated, you can actually access that money without a 10% penalty as well. So 403B offers a little more flexibility during your employment years. Now, as far as why would anybody want to have both of those and how do you set it up? Like I mentioned before, deferred compensation plans ran by the state. You just log in to your Plan 3 account. You'd go over to Voya currently, and you just say enroll on deferred compensation plan. On a 403B is a little bit different because they're private companies. You need to get an approved vendor list from your employer or HR office. So every school district has a different list of vendors or 403B providers out there. Whoever's on that list is approved, you can have an account with. Now, sometimes in some districts, the list really isn't that great. You only have annuity options available or high fee ones. If you're in that situation, deferred comp might be the way to go. So as far as why would you consider having both of these, it's typically, it used to be a tax play. So before deferred compensation Roth became available in October, oftentimes we'd say, hey, deferred comp is only pre-tax, but you have a Roth 403B available with no income restrictions. So a lot of higher income earners that weren't eligible for Roth IRAs, or even if they were maxing those out, that were looking for additional Roth opportunities, would use a Roth 403B. Now, since deferred compensation Roth is available, I'm not really seeing that why you continue on with that Roth 403B unless the fees were right and you're having a decent amount of performance there. For many people, it'd probably be a good idea, if you do have a Roth 403b, go back and look at it and double check what the fees are, performance history of it all, because it might make more sense now to stop putting money into there, open up a Roth deferred compensation plan, and fund it that way. You're going to get the same tax benefit, but you're going to cut down on the fees. Now, last but certainly not least, the next benefit you really want to know is your healthcare benefits. So if you're a school district employee, you are on SEB, the School Employees Benefits Board. Public employees are on PEB, the Public Employees Benefits Board. Both of those benefits have amazing health opportunities for you guys. So your employer covers the majority, if not all, of your premiums while you're employed. Now, when you retire, you're on your own. They're not going to be there to cover that benefit, so you have to cover the full amount. But you can still be on that system. So if you're on PEB to begin with, you would continue on as PEB as retirement coverage. If you're on SEB, you would transition to the PEB retiree coverage. So the coverage is going to be very similar to what you guys have on. You're just paying the cost fully out of pocket yourself. Now, why would I go with a PEB retiree coverage versus something like AARP or something that's just cheaper for private coverages? And there's a few key reasons why all of my clients, for the most part, are sticking with that PEB retiree coverage. And it all just comes down to it pays well. They cover pretty much everything that my clients have ever had happen to them. So it's more of a peace of mind factor. So it might cost more than the private plans, but remember that you get what you pay for. So there are definitely cheaper plans out there, but they usually nickel and dime you in terms of deductibles. They're not going to cover this or not cover that. They only cover you in certain counties or certain states, or only, Washington only. So you really need the fine print and understand what exactly you're getting and what you're paying for. So a lot of our clients will use the UMP, the Uniform Medical, which is provided through Regents Blue Shield. When they enroll in that plan, for the most part, I haven't seen them ever have to pay a large out-of-pocket amount. And I've been doing this for close to 10 years now, and I've never heard a horror story really about it. So just a couple weeks ago, I was sitting down with a client having coffee, and she mentioned that she got laser eye surgery done on both eyes, and it cost her $60. When my wife went and got that done before our wedding, it cost her almost $1,000. So for eye care, it covers stuff. I had a client last year break her foot. They paid for all the surgery. She only had to pay for the knee scooter and the chair for her shower. I had a client had some surgical complications and got airlifted from Yakima over to Seattle. And I couldn't wait to ask him, what did that cost you? Nothing. He actually said he didn't get a bill at all from it. So you can see that having the proper coverage in place, while it may cost more on a month-to-month basis, when it comes down to making sure that you are covered and they're going to be there to pay for it, the PEB insurance is really, really hard to beat. Plus, because it's only offered to public employees, people like myself, who's not a public employee, I can't get into it. So they keep it sort of competitive of the rates that they offer. So while costs may go up, they're not going to skyrocket like you might see in the private market. Another thing that people don't know is when you get on these PEB plans, they're available for your spouse and your kids or dependents as well. So you could retire and you could still keep them on your coverage. If you were to pass away, they're still eligible to be on your coverage. So it's a great benefit that could go beyond just your years on this earth. Now, one really key benefit with the PEB insurance when it comes to retirement is that when you go to enroll in it, on the bottom of the form, when it goes to the section of how do you want to pay for this, they're going to ask you, do you want to pay direct deposit? Do you want to write us a check, or do you want a pension deduction? As you can see, knowing how your benefits work and the best ways to utilize them can really empower you to retire earlier and just save a lot on taxes. So knowing first what your benefits are and how to use them is definitely what you should be spending your time on. Now, if you want to fast forward that process because you don't have time to watch videos or read through articles or just really don't understand how everything works together, that's why we're here. At any time you want to hop on a call with us, we're happy to walk you through all of your questions and how things works and give you recommendations on how to get set up going forward. So if you just want to hop on a call with us, the link to book a call will be in the description below. I look forward to speaking with you guys soon. And remember that your future depends on what you do today.